I've been here before.
Yeah.
There was a day I got in here and I saw cobweb. I had to look for your cleaner. I asked. It was madness. But I didn't criticize. Because it's my value. It's valueless without expression, which is your virtue. So you see, you can't have virtue until you have value. Value is your essence, which puts you in a certain standard. That standard is not controlled by circumstances or people. It is what influences you to act and be special.
Okay. All right. So for us as a country to develop, we must have personal constitutions.
Yes. It changes the dynamics.
But now, what if your personal constitution and my personal constitution does not align?
So that's where respect is. But don't forget, we have a constitution that governs us. So that constitution, all our values must be in harmony and in alignment to that. Once it is not, that's why you see people have values, right?
Yeah.
And why do you go to police station? They will bring law. And when the law does not align to your value, they will show you consequence of where you have to go.
True.
You had value. But that value did not respect our... You see, that's what we're talking about, integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity is not honesty. Integrity is integral, oneness, unification. So there are things that bound us. So now you know that if you take one way, it affects the other person. It's convenient to you, which is what is driving. But it's not integrity, because it's not unifying us.
Okay, so now let's take it. Let's go into some form of measurements now. When you look at Nigeria, when you look at River State, right? How would you describe the ethics and value system in the country? I mean, when we talk about corruption, we are, amongst the nations, we're top there. When you talk about, you just talked about integrity, which we talked about, some time ago when we were talking about leadership. And, we said we lack leadership in the country. We also lack men of integrity. So now the question then will be, how do we measure, or if we were to measure value systems and ethics in the country, what would our measurement look like?
Every time you see an individual that has no sustainability program, it means there are no standard. That means that they're compliant. There's nothing to comply, right? It is how progressive, the orderliness, ability to be proactive, not reactive, right? Because see, what order does, it shows you the path of progression. Disorder, right, it disconnects you. How you know? Check out our road system, right? And the trees planted, it's never watered. There was a plan, right? But people won't follow the plan.
Okay.
We are not designed in that way.
So you're saying Nigerians never follow the plan?
No, they never follow the plan. They never follow the plan, because why? If you don't have a constitution and you are obedient, the strongest life advancer is obedient. And we're all obeying something.
Okay, so what if we do have a constitution, but our constitution has been corrupted? I'm talking about individually now. So it is me. It's I need to get this thing at all cost, because I've seen a lot of people, abide by such laws. And you've just also said we have a general constitution, and when your value system does not align to that value system, you're thrown into jail or something, or you're made to face the consequences. So what if it's a corrupted, or would I say a negative ethical standard or value system that runs the country? Will I be correct?
Yes. It starts from a home.
Okay.
Let's bring it from a home.
Okay.
If a father is not ethically sound, you will see the disorganization at home, right? And now you will see that because the father is not articulated, has no constitution around him to be obedient, he does his shout, and over there, go and check the children after, they will follow that pattern. No matter how you force it. You are forcing an ethics that is not modeled. Right? So it's the same thing about Nigeria. If you get to organization, let me give you an instance, right? We have multi-international organization. Now, I won't call them. In this Port Harcourt, right, there's a multi-international resident. If you go into that resident, right, it's completely different. They are in River State.
I might know what you're talking about, but I'm going to pause you because I've got a commercial coming up.
Okay.
We'll get to hear that story and that analogy, please. Just stay tuned.
Okay.
For more
92.3 Nigeria Info. I am Kala Dakurubatabo, and with me in the studio is Mr. Patrick Uduma. It's good to have you once again, and a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, so before the break, you were trying to explain for us about the residents of a particular multinational that you would not tell us the name, and that was because I asked the question of how, I talked about this issue of ethics and value, and the question was basically how it can be measured, how it, looking at the lives and the personal constitutions of individuals in the country, how we can measure it, if we can see it, if it's tangible enough, or if it's in the negative. I asked that question, so you can go ahead to answer.
Ethics has to do with established principles.
True.
Right? And ideas. Right?
Established principles.
Ideas.
Okay.
Established principles and ideas. I read from the good book that lovers of God are filled with good ideas. That is noble and pure.
Okay.
Right? Now, in the purity, if you pursue purity, the first thing you will do, you will notice that your physical sense has some advantage in terms of wellness. Then your physical environment will reflect that. Now, if you see this organization, they have like their private resident. They are in Port Harcourt, within Port Harcourt. If you go there, the character quite different. If you look at everything the way it's designed, you will think it's another country. Why? Ethics and value.
So they have an established principle and idea
that you will comply, and you will be forced to comply. Let me explain to you.
All right.
Before now, you can't enter that place without your let's say your seatbelt.
Yeah, seatbelt, yeah.
It was everybody in Nigeria who visit there will put there.
And usually Nigerians don't wear seatbelts.
They don't wear seatbelt. They'll just put it. Why? You were forced. Otherwise, you see, there's monitoring is compliance and consequence. Compliance and consequence determine. That's what is key. Compliance and consequence. Now you see that once you don't comply, is what they call the baseline. In fact, the way to measure a person, a nation, is for what they call the baseline and the higher life. Now the baseline is associated with vices. The higher life is associated with absolute standardization of ethics and value. So to measure, you will see the high life of an organization or an individual or the baseline. So it's so clear that we're in a baseline because we lack moral justification that governs us into value system.
Is there hope for Nigeria then?
Yeah, because there's a lot of awareness. There are 3 stages of a man. We are in the animal stage, where
you mean all the country itself?
Yes.
Okay.
We're in the animal stage. It's what they call the temptation stage. We're in a temptation stage. Okay, we're trying. We know, we're aware, but still it's not in our consciousness yet. Then you now talk about when it's now in our consciousness. No, where we now know the merit and dismerit, the higher life and the lower life. So you see, we cannot force higher life without compliance and ethics.
So do you think? I don't know, because it's going to take us. This is going to take us back to the leadership conversation. So do you think that we need leadership to be able to bring about compliance so that individually we can begin to drop our own established ideologies?
If the governor of the states, for instance, the first thing I'm going to do is to enlarge the capacity of our prisons.
Why? Tell me why.
Because I will force compliance.
Okay.
And once you don't comply, you go to jail. There's nobody from A to O that will step you out of that. Once people can go to jail, you see, we'll come back into moral standard.
So I didn't say that on our own as human beings, we cannot think and say, okay, for us to have a good society, which we all yearn for, by the way, if not, many people would not leaving the shores, we would now act XYZ patterns, or would not behave in XYZ patterns, and have personal constitution and say, okay, as a man, I must be hardworking, smart working, I must pay my taxes, I must follow all the laws of the land. We cannot on our own do that, or must we be forced?
No. Of course, some of us have taken that lead. All right, that's what we're talking about, value system. If my organization is about value system, I give instance. Okay, so we have hired a particular gentleman who came to offer us a certain service, and it was food for everybody in the organization. And now I have asked like a review to get back from what was the experience. And he said, how did you deploy such value? I said, what happened? Everybody that came and was served went to the kitchen, washed their plate, brought it back.
And you talked about cleanliness.
Yes, that's what about cleanliness, right? Yeah. Why? If I go to the pantry, I will personally wash my plate. I will clean it. You will see me wash it. So it's very easy for everybody to adapt because nobody is forcing it. And you will see that we are healthier. You will see that we have a cleaner place. And you will see the higher life. But imagine if I will go there and throw the plate. Another will throw the plate. Right.
Or they'll do what we call eye service.
That's eye service.
When you're around and when you're not around.
Now, yesterday, bringing back into eye service, I walk into my other organization that I usually don't go too often. I walk in there, I went with an auditor, and this auditor observed that everybody was in their natural state. Nobody was saying, oh, guy was around. He said, how did you get it? That's value system. Model. Making sure you understand the dignity of other people. Now, to measure it is the high standard that brings some tranquility and peace and recognition.
Can we have good leadership with how poor, because you've said we are the baseline, with how poor our ethics and value systems are? Can we have good leadership? And by the way, for a country that is so religious, I mean, we've got the biggest auditoriums either as Christians or Muslims. We've got, churches, mosques everywhere. Why do we have such poor ethics and moral values?
There's a state we call the ego state.
Okay.
Which is self-centeredness.
Okay.
That's where people look about absolute power. And what defines them is materialism. That's not what defines a man. When your inner life is not rich, you cannot express richness externally. What we call riches in this part of the world is poverty.
Please, can you do that again? Can you let me act like Sam Oracle now? Can you do that again, please?
You see, what we call riches and wealth in this part of the world is poverty. Right? Because you see, if you are not wealth within, you can't express without. And one of these is absolute power, right? Which is what we do. Let's break ethics into fatherhood, right? We represent it as father, right? A father modeled. Now, what is father? The first thing is fairness. That's the first ethic, fairness. Is it fair? The second one is accountability. You cannot say you are accountable until there's a standard or there's a constitution that you're accounted to. He said it is written. Why is it written? Because there's a constitution that he was following. Now, you talked about trust and transparency. Trust and transparency. You see, can we trust our leaders? Because we don't call them leaders, they're called rulers because they have absolute power.
Yeah, you mentioned last.
Yes, that's absolute power. Because know why? They neglect ethics and compliance. How do I know? You see, how is it that a leader who has put on traffic lights, right? Well, because you're a leader, because you have convoy, you will break that law. Who are you? Do you understand? Every other person will break the law. But
like we see the police do, driving against traffic.
And at that point, they will tell you you're an emergency, right? These are some people that on managing, when they cross the line, they will stop. Right? People are watching. And this is apparently how the custodian of the monitoring of this standard had compromised the standard. And they were supposed to be the model. Have you seen a policeman who, you make a mistake, will model you and say XYZ? They will punish you rather. It's not bad. But you see, teach me. Sometimes we don't know awareness. We don't know. So let's bring it back to a home. A home, let's say like your father. You say, I deserve to be honored. All right? And we don't know where honor is. Where are we going to model the honor? If you model the honor, then we can see it, relate with it, and it's easier to be emulated because we can animate it because it's visible.
Now, it takes me back to one of the statements you made. People judge you based on their standards.
Yes.
But they could show you instead, how you can emulate the things that they're good at.
Just do it. Just do it. You will see that it's relatable, it's copyable, it's animatable. You can animate it.
How do we build ethics and values?
A simple thing. Go back to corporate organization, right? You see, corporate governance can drive this.
But do you think, because you keep saying corporate now, do you think your staffers, your workers, when they're outside that business environment, they still carry some of those values and ethics, or they only play, like you mentioned, the residents of that multinational, where people are forced to put on their seatbelt when they enter? But what about when they leave?
So you see, we talk about higher life and the benefit of higher life and destructive baseline. They know it's practical, right? I said, okay, let's say we have the value of cleanliness and service, all right? And one day I left my house and I got into our gutter in front of the house, and I found it was filthy because it had just rained and it was not cleaned. So I stepped down and I started cleaning the gutter. I mean, this was like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. The security man opposite the house came and joined me. Another security man who was in my house
came and joined you.
Did not join.
He did not join.
He was fired instantly.
Interesting.
He was fired instantly. And there was nothing to go about it. If the other guy did not join, right, he won't be fired. But the fact that that guy joined shows that within the environment, that's what we're saying. People say environment affect us, only the negative, not in the positive.
How do you mean?
If all the people in church affecting them, they would have been holy.
So you're saying we just go to church, we just go to the mosque, and we come back without any holiness at all?
Nah. It takes a lot of transition to get in what. How many people become the word?
So okay. Now I think I threw another.
Let me explain to you.
Yeah, explain.
90% of people in Port Harcourt go to church.
True.
Right?
Yeah, true.
Now, 2 days ago, we're coming back. I was going back home. There's a church, 2 church members who were coming back from the same church, and they had an accident. If you see both of them fighting, and one person say, "You guys are brothers. What are you people fighting?"
And they just came out from church.
They just came out, and the other guy had a badge. They have a badge. I mean, it's
no personal constitution.
There's no kindness.
So I also asked, can we then ever get leadership right?
Yes, we will.
If we do have poor ethics and value systems.
But it's obvious that it's failing. What we're doing is failing. Meanwhile, we have more potential in higher life than in lower life. Vices or core or predominant in non-ethical life. But you see, standardization promote prosperity and wealth and well-being.
But that's the question I'm asking. Are we going to be able to put standards and principles looking at Nigeria? I mean, looking at Rivers, let's even start with our locality. Are we going to see because the people in leadership are also portraying the same value systems and the same ethics that ordinary Rivers people are portraying. Driving against traffic, bribery and corruption, not doing the right thing. So are we ever going to get a leadership that would say, okay, I'm putting my foot to the ground and I need standard, I need, these value systems to be practicable?
All the people that had left Port Harcourt and had gone to Canada, they are different personalities.
Yes, of course they are.
Right.
I agree with you on that one.
But it's the same people, right? It's the same personality.
Yeah.
So we have the potential to change.
Interesting.
Because if you messed up there, you know where you're going to go. Okay.
So if you say it's possible, then where do we start from? Where do we build from?
From home. A guy came to my office. I've been interviewed him, and I asked him, "Do you have value system?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Where is it written?" I have not written it. I can say it. That's okay. He when people are smart, I said, okay, let's call to your wife, and let's call her to show that this. He said, no, he won't say it in the same. That's not called value. I said, okay, hold on. I picked up a phone and I called my boys, right? I said, what's our value system? They ranked the 8 of them. Because they will hold you accountable. That's what we'll talk about. Father, fairness, accountability, trust. When you are held accountable because of what you have put as a constitution, you see that you are modeling that. That's where the equity comes in.
But when you say we should start from the family, you've just also agreed that the family itself does not know what they don't have personal constitutions, and you've just given an example. So how will such an individual now start building values and ethics so that Nigeria can be a better place?
Let's go back to church.
Okay.
Right? And church talked about mercy as a value system. Right? Don't talk about any other thing. Talk about it for one. Bring examples. Center. It's not about the multiple information that you put into people, but can you have also compliance mechanism to drive those? That's a part of a richer way to reach other people. We've been talking on radio. You guys talked about all that. People are listening. At least you could say you don't have DSTV money, but you have money for radio. Practice it. Wear it. The option. You will see you are better off when you comply than when you're not complying. That's a point baseline.
But you would say that you're better off. But for instance, the market person who has increased the price of food items exorbitantly that others can no longer afford because he wants to make very quick things. The person who has tried to fleece the public because he wants to make quick gains. Those people they're enjoying life. So when you say when you follow the right ethics or you follow ethics and values, you live a better life. I don't think those people will agree with you. If not, we wouldn't have money. Crisis state, which is of course self-centered and cynical, all of that. We would not.
That really confident is on. You have meat. No, you won't come back. Maybe you come around 5 to find out. You don't have.
There will be no peace.
There's no peace. There's no tranquility. So we are saying to get everything right. Let me give you a instance. Let's say you is nothing, right? You see, you can't owe.
True.
Whether to your employee anywhere, you find out that that's what they call the healthy boundaries, right? And that one of my values is dignifying men. glorify humanity. You can't see me bad language, right? Because that's the value in that person. Same way in the marketplace, these people who influence it do not understand what they call the mutual exchange.
Okay.
The mutual exchange means that increase prices. The person that works for you, you need his service. So the person will increase prices as in here.
There's inflation. Interesting. Okay. So at the end, can you focus on how from the family we can begin to instill ethics and values?
I think something that I'm practicing is a function of what my dad passed on. And as at that time, I thought it was painful. Check or value or put performance of ethics in right? You see that ethics is painful, but yet pleasure. But if you follow pleasure without pain, you will realize that you will create pain actually. We are going through this pain because we don't understand pain.
The weird,
of compliance, of standard, right? Why? The primary reason is because our parts, the natural parts that flows, we have all
blocked it. Okay.
And who is suffering it? Even if we have followed the standard, respect the natural point and enhance it, right? And fly over there, we won't have certain.
You've been it for me because when you side with the current system that I see or the structure that I see, I'm scared. Once again, I want to ask the question: this standardization you're talking about, is it even possible in the first place for us to do it in? You've mentioned that people who from Port Harcourt go to Canada when they get there. True, but that system was built over the years. Like you said, your father passed it down to you. But we've had what I call the adverse personal constitution or the adverse ethics and values passed from one generation to, and several generations have passed. So the question then is, can Nigeria as a country, I mean, this is national orientation, I've tagged it, but can we, because I was hoping that after this conversation we'll say, oh, okay, we'll do like this, and we get it right. But it looks like a daunting task, an impossible task.
It's a daunting task. Let's go to Bonny now.
Okay.
In Bonny Island.
Okay.
You have Finima. Inside that Finima, I think there's a company there.
Yeah, there is.
Right?
Yeah.
If they move from Finima to that company, they're a different person. Even the driving is regulated.
Okay.
Right? 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers, it's been monitored. And the moment you increase it, a voice will come in and say, hey, they withdraw your license.
Wow.
Or some sort of thing.
Wow.
So it is possible. The question we have been talking about value system. Value determines our character. Principles determine consequences. Priority give us power or focus. I give instance, there's somebody who are celebrating all over the world, right? Including using I was studying about him and I looked at his product line. He is passed on, but his product line represents purity. You know why? He's so mindful. Nigerians are not mindful of values and ethics.
No. We've had people in government try to change the system. My time is up, I think.
Yeah.
But we've had people in government try to change the system, but they've been fought.
They don't. Who are these people? Go and check Nelson Mandela. All the people who make one.
Right.
We'll be back.